The lights dimmed in Belfast, and the roar of the crowd shook the SSE arena. This was more than a fight. This was a homecoming. Carl Frampton, the Jackal, the pride of Northern Ireland, was stepping back into the ring after months away. The former WBA Super World Featherweight Champion had one mission tonight: to remind the boxing world why he was one of the best. But across from him stood Horacio Garcia, a proud Mexican warrior with nothing to lose and everything to gain. He came to spoil the night, to silence the Belfast faithful. The opening bell rang. Ding. Frampton began with his usual rhythm: crisp footwork, fast jabs, and sharp combinations. He was boxing beautifully from the outside, using distance to his advantage. The crowd roared with every clean right hand that landed. His timing looked perfect: a left hook here, a right cross there, each punch finding its home. But Garcia was no easy opponent. He absorbed the shots, stalked forward, and made it clear he wasn't there just to collect a paycheck. Frampton landed a stunning left uppercut from range. The arena erupted. Round 1 was Frampton's, but Garcia kept coming. Round after round, Frampton showcased his skill, pivoting, countering, making Garcia miss and pay. The first 3 rounds looked like a boxing masterclass. The Jackal was back, and the Belfast crowd could feel it. But Garcia wasn't broken. He was patient. He was waiting. And as the fight moved into the middle rounds, the storm was coming. By the 4th round, the tone of the fight began to shift. Garcia, tough as iron, started cutting off the ring and letting his hands go. The crowd, so loud early, grew a little quieter as the Mexican began to land heavy body shots that made Frampton backpedal. This was no longer a showcase. This was a battle. Garcia's pressure was relentless. He threw punches in bunches, forcing Frampton to fight off the ropes. A left hook dug into Frampton's ribs, and you could see the momentary wince on his face. Garcia had found his rhythm, and he was dragging Frampton into a dogfight. The 5th and 6th rounds were brutal. Garcia's uppercuts snapped Frampton's head back. His right hands thudded against Frampton's guard. The Belfast hero was still landing, but he was no longer in full control. The Mexican warrior was walking him down, and the crowd could feel the tension rise with every exchange. Then came the 7th, the turning point. Garcia landed a big shot that knocked Frampton off balance and sent him to the canvas. The referee called it a knockdown, and suddenly the entire arena went silent for a split second. The Jackal was down, but not out. Frampton rose, nodded, and bit down on his mouthpiece. This was the moment that would define his night. Would he crumble, or would he fight back? The final 3 rounds were a war. Frampton, now fighting with urgency, began to let his hands go. He went back to his boxing, sharp jabs, quick combinations, angles, but Garcia refused to take a step back. The two stood toe-to-toe, trading in the center of the ring, the crowd roaring with every punch. Frampton's accuracy started to show again. His counters were crisp, his right hands were laser-guided. The 9th round saw some of his best work, bouncing on his toes, making Garcia miss and landing clean shots. But every time he looked to take control, Garcia came charging back, landing heavy hooks to the body and head. The 10th and final round felt like a movie scene. Both fighters emptied the tank, throwing everything they had left. Frampton's combinations were sharp. Garcia's pressure was fearless. The Belfast crowd stood on their feet, screaming, living and breathing every second. And then, the final bell. The fighters embraced, both knowing they had been through a war. The judges' scorecards were read. Unanimous decision. Winner, Carl Frampton. The arena exploded. But this was no easy win. Garcia had pushed him to the limit. This was not just a fight. It was a test of heart. And Frampton had passed, proving he still had what it takes to stand at the top. The 10th round was a test of will. Both men came out swinging, knowing this was the final chapter. Frampton threw sharp 3-punch combinations, landing clean on Garcia's jaw, but the Mexican refused to back down. He threw back with heavy hooks that echoed through the arena. The crowd was deafening, urging their hero to finish strong. Frampton stood his ground, trading shots, slipping counters, giving everything he had. Garcia smiled through the punches, as if to say, "You can't break me." The exchanges were wild, back and forth, both men digging deep into reserves of heart and courage. Frampton's accuracy and speed started to show, landing clean left hooks and snapping jabs. But Garcia just kept coming, making this not just a fight, but a war that Belfast would never forget. The final bell rang, and both warriors embraced. Sweat poured, gloves touched, respect shared. This was no easy night. This was 10 rounds of war. The judges' scorecards were read aloud. The arena held its breath. Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges are in agreement. Your winner by unanimous decision. The crowd erupted before the name was even called. From Belfast, Northern Ireland, Carl Frampton. The arena exploded with cheers. The Jackal had done it. He had passed the test, shaken off the ring rust, and shown the world that he still had the heart of a champion. Garcia, though defeated, earned the respect of everyone in attendance. He had come to win, pushed Frampton to the edge, and turned what many expected to be an easy night into an unforgettable war. This fight was not just about victory, it was about resilience, about answering questions, about proving that under the lights, with the pressure on, Carl Frampton was still a fighter to be feared. The Belfast fans cheered their hero as he raised his arms one last time. The comeback was complete. As the crowd slowly began to leave the arena, the chants of "Carl, Carl, Carl" still echoed through the halls. This night was more than a fight, it was a statement. Carl Frampton had not just beaten Horacio Garcia, he had walked through fire to do it. He had been pushed, hurt, even dropped. But he rose, fought back, and reminded the world exactly who he is. In the post-fight interview, his voice cracked slightly, sweat still dripping from his brow. "This wasn't easy," he said, smiling through exhaustion. "But I needed this. I needed to show myself, my team, and all of you that I'm still here. I'm not done yet." Horacio Garcia stood tall too, his head held high. He had come to Belfast as the underdog, but left with respect. He had turned a comeback fight into a battle that tested one of the best fighters of his era. The cameras panned to the fans, still singing. Fathers lifted their sons onto their shoulders. Friends embraced. This was more than a win. This was a moment for Belfast. Frampton's gloves were raised one last time. This was the Jackal reborn, sharper, tougher, and hungrier than ever. The next chapter in his career had just been written, and it promised bigger challenges ahead. As the lights dimmed in the arena and the crowd filed out, one thing was clear. Carl Frampton wasn't just back. He was ready to hunt again.